Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be primarily talking about a trough and some energy that's going to move into Texas, down Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas. That's going to link up with some very cold air and some energy, which could spark a winter storm across the region. And then it could continue either up to the eastern coast and create a massive nor'easter, or cause other problems just down by Texas and stuff like that. So without further ado here, we're going to skip over to the future models and get a look at those and jump right into this thing. So here we go. So jumping right into this here, we're going to take a look at the GFS model. The date, type, and what model type we're looking at will always be in the top right corner of the screen. So without further ado here, I'm going to start running this ahead. So we have this huge amount of Arctic air that's currently sitting over the region, which is going to bring very low to critical temperatures across a lot of this portion that just got hit by a massive winter storm as well. So a lot of this region is going to see very cold temperatures, and areas that saw a lot of that ice too. That ice is going to stick around and could cause power problems and power outages problems as well, with crews trying to get out there and fix areas that are down with power. With all that, with those extremely cold temperatures, it's gonna be really hard to get any work with that done. So with that being said, this Arctic air is gonna stay here for a while, and I mean that's why we're seeing cold temperatures in the northern part of Florida, and there's gonna be some energy that develops here, and it's gonna move into Texas with a clipper sort of system that comes down from Canada, and you'll see this when I run this ahead. But and that's really when we're really gonna see a possible major winter storm somewhere through here. Well, we're gonna see some type of winter storm definitely down here. However, confidence begins to wane after it moves past Arkansas, because it could, if it's open enough, what it's gonna do is it could either ride up the coast. The closer it goes, if the closer it goes to the coastline from or after going through Arkansas, like past here, like I said, the closer it goes up that coast, the bigger chances we're gonna see of a nor'easter for the bigger cities. However, I mean, it still could wane if it stays further on land, maybe like this, or like this. Even we're still gonna see we could see impacts further inland, rather than further out. So, and so running this ahead, we have these extremely cold temperatures with a huge amount of lake effect snow pumping over the northeast area and the Great Lakes. And that's going to stick around for a while, so we could see some lake effect accumulations there. But you can already see it right down here. Here's that storm, or at least early beginning stages of it. You can see right here, there's already some orange and sleet. That's because by right now it'll be above freezing for down there. However, you can see the piece of energy too. This is the GFS model. We're going to take a look at two other models after this, but you can see the piece of energy that's up here. That's going to link up with that down here, with all this with all that moisture coming up, and you can already see where it begins to link up and really get moving here just on this model. This is just the GFS model. We're going to take a look at the European and the GFS ensemble, which is a collection of models put together. But you can see once it links up here, you can see that this model takes this low pressure center moving sort of like this, so which means it would ride up the coast. But you can just see huge amounts of snow are just falling over portions of the deep south, which is it's not like rare, but it's definitely not common to see this. But another key idea is just the snow itself stretches so far up, so even areas that aren't going to get hit by the heaviest portions, again, this is just one model run, this could change, but the heaviest portions obviously are going to be right through here in northern Alabama, northern Georgia, maybe even Atlanta, parts of Tennessee. But I mean, we can still see maybe light to moderate snowfall up in Illinois, Ohio, Indiana. But once we get to a certain point, you can kind of see where it starts to turn up the coast a little bit. I mean, if it turns further up like that, then we're going to see less. We could see more impacts and more of a centralized nor'easter over the Mid-Atlantic region. it would just kind of bowling ball up like that, or if it leans further inland like that, we would see more impacts further inland rather than on the coast, much less a nor'easter at that point. However, once that happens, you can see here this the GFS was projecting a major nor'easter. It still is showing light to moderate to heavy snowfall right throughout here, but the chance of it actually really becoming something like strong and spinning and becoming like a strong low pressure center off the coast. Not that it won't be, but I mean this is just not strong enough to produce like it's still we could see localized areas if this were to happen. Of course, we could see localized areas of big totals over that region. But then you can see it quickly moves out, and then we still have activity left over, and there still will be a lot more. There'll still be a ton more chances for snowstorms and stuff, as there's just gonna be a ton of cold air and energy just pumping off of Canada and flinging storms, just flinging energy and stuff and down into us. And you can see this is even further out, but this is even further out, but this is likely not going to happen. So that was the one GFS model. You can see that was the first model. Takes it much further south than what the European's going to say. So I'm going to switch over to the European model, and yeah, so let me go to that. So I accidentally had the time in UTC hours on the GFS model, but this is the European now, so it should be a little bit more understanding, and you can just compare the times to the storm if you really need to. Otherwise, you don't have to. Anyway. So this is the European model, and you can see it's much more higher. It's much more higher resolution on that lake effect snow over here on the eastern and Great Lakes area, and in the mountain ranges over there. And then here comes that big storm down here. This actually wants to leak in a lot more ice, a lot more like freezing rain and ice than the GFS does. GFS briefly says it, and then it quickly skirts on by and really produces heavy snow totals. Or at least what that GFS was showing, it produces some good. We could see some good sized totals if that were to happen. However, very, very unlikely. We are going to see a lot of things change. So here's the piece of energy again that's going to link up here. The main key decider to decide how much snow like Houston Metro, in the Southwest Oklahoma. The key to see how much they're going to get is it's dependent on when this energy links up with this energy down there. If it links up earlier, which you can see here, it links up and then it links up and then it begins to move up. But you can see when it links up, it kind of hangs back a little bit, and it really produces snow. This is where we could see some good totals through Southwest Oklahoma, and then down by Houston. And areas like that, depending on how much cold air and how far back it can work into the storm. And again, when the energy links up, this has it linking up a little bit later, so it would show Houston getting a little bit more rain in Southwest Oklahoma, especially right around here in the corner of like Texas, by the Red River, and like Southwest Oklahoma and Arkansas getting the gist of the snow. But from there, you can kind of see. We start to wane a little bit. You can already tell that the GFS model was much more compact with the snow. You can already tell that the European is much more further up on it. We have a much wider area of snowfall, even heavier snowfall in parts. You can see the areas I was talking about, Mississippi, Bama, Georgia, mostly just rain, maybe some sleet mixing in by Georgia, maybe some light flurries up there by portions of extreme northern Alabama and Georgia. But from there, you can kind of see this shows no nor'easter at all. It would just show widespread flurries and stuff. If this model were to happen, maybe a little bit of heavier snowfall by the Delmarva area, Delaware. Parts of there would see maybe a little bit more, but if that, and then you can see this model's different when it comes to being future, like extremely far out. But we're just mainly focused on this storm as of right now. And you can see much more deeper colors down here. So this would be much more of a hard hitter for snow lovers down in Arkansas. And then, like I said, right around the corner of southeastern Oklahoma, parts of southwestern Oklahoma as well, depending on if it links up further quicker than what the GFS was saying. This has it showing up later. And then you can see we really start to wane once we get past that Arkansas point. Once you get past, like, I'd say this line, we really start to wane. Will it stick closer to the coastline and really bring heavier snow totals for parts of the bigger cities, or will we see, will we see it stick further on land and maybe see, and if it does ramp up, will we see maybe heavier totals over here in parts of the Mid-Atlantic Ohio Valley, like we did with the most recent storm? Again, lot is up in the air right now, so there's a lot of information still to come. So I'm gonna switch over to the ensembles now and get a better, because the ensembles can get a better idea of what we could see, since we are pretty far out, but we can get a better idea of what we're gonna see from the ensembles. So I'm gonna switch over to that. So this is the GFS ensemble. Again, date and time, top right corner. This time it's in PM. The first time it was accidentally in UTC time, but you can always compare it. Just go back in the video and just compare. But you can see here, it has it linking up relatively early. So we could see some, we can get a good baseline of snow already begin to form once that energy from the north links up. Once that happens, you can kind of see it. I don't want to say stalls out, but you can kind of see it slows down a lot, and it sits over some of these areas. However, one thing I do want to notice, the one thing I do want to point out with this is it really keeps like a lot of snow like everywhere, which I just don't. It's gonna be confined. Again, this is more of a longer range model, so I mean, who's to say? But like, then again, we can see we have those heavier bands closer to that freezing line, which ultimately is gonna where is these bands exactly gonna end up? You can see that in the ensemble models, you can see in southeastern Oklahoma, Red River, Texas, and a good portion of Arkansas, there's a lot of mixing and freezing rain. And just further up to the north, towards the OKC metro, and to the east of that, we could see heavier snow, especially in Missouri, or in Arkansas, Missouri as well. But as I run this ahead, you can see the ensemble wants to trend with the European model. It wants to take some of this heavier stuff further up, which would be nice for parts of Tennessee, West Virginia, parts of North Carolina, extremely western parts of North Carolina, and the mountain range, and the Appalachian mountain ranges as well. But then again, you can kind of see it drops that heavier stuff down to a certain extent. There's a lot of uncertainties when it gets past that point, or there's still uncertainties about the whole thing. It's just there's more uncertainties once it gets past Arkansas and Louisiana area. You can get a good idea. There could be something for the Mid-Atlantic to East Coast in the next couple of days. There will be more information given. You can kind of see that this model wants to give a nor'easter look to it. Have some heavy snow falling in Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Boston, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, maybe even leaking up into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and the Maine coast. And then you can see that skirts on by, and then, yeah. So this is the main storm that we'll be looking at right now, and then, yeah. So I'm going to bring up some percentiles for how much snow we could see over the areas and stuff like that, and just finish up this video with that. So let me pull those up. So this is an older GFS ensemble model run. There's a new one coming in as I'm recording this. However, I'm not really expecting much big differences and changes, as we're still pretty far out. There will be some obvious changes to the track and stuff depending on the upper levels of the atmosphere. The millibars of pressure, especially to see if the heights are rising over the eastern coast. If that happens, it'll create more of an inland track. Just stuff like that. But this is a 24-hour period this is the probability of greater than 1 inch of snowfall. And then this is actually a little bit ahead. You can see if I run this, it's movable, so it's nice to show. So this would start off here in the Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas region. I duly want to note that this older model run, of course, has much of the potential greater than 1 inch of snow much higher up. Originally, a couple days, or at least a couple hours ago, we had model runs saying there could be a lot more snow further south. Then again, this is older, so that could have dropped back south, which I am expecting it to. I don't think they're gonna get. I don't think an inch. This probability is this high for this further north. I think that it's going to drop further south, and it's going to be positioned more over here. So, because I mean, giving probabilities all the way up here is still way too early, because I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding this whole thing. But you can kind of get an idea that there's going to be some sort of there's some sort of a possible major winter storm, and you can just see as it gets further towards the eastern coast, those probabilities just expand and widen, which just shows the uncertainty. And I mean, but like we have a good solid idea of where we could see over an inch of snow, and then if we take a look at, and then you know, if we run this further ahead, you can see it gets even less as we go towards the eastern coast, as we go towards the east coast, where there's that chance for a nor'easter. And then after that, we could maybe, and then, you know, just other stuff after that. So, and then I'm gonna switch over to one more thing, and then we'll be done for today. So, let me switch over to that. And then this is probabilities of over 6 inches of snow, and you can see that they're still pretty high for being this far out. They're relatively high, but you can see it drops it further. It's further south. You can see it does try to extend those probabilities into Texas more. I do think that these still will drop further south, depending on when that energy links up from up here. If it links up earlier, then if you know, new model runs come out and that energy, and it shows the energy linking up much earlier, then these probabilities will get shifted further over here, and we will start to see those probabilities form over there. 4-6 inches or more. But this is one older model run, just keep that in mind. The newer one was coming in, but however, when I showed the GFS and European, those were all the newest models. Those are the newest tracks, stuff like that. So, but I mean, you can see there is a signal for over 6 inches of snow, which would be pretty insane to see parts of southeastern to south central Oklahoma and parts of northwestern to central Arkansas getting over 6 inches of snow. And then which was, I mean, it's not rare, but it's also not common. But you can see as I run this ahead, again, uncertainties just become even more wide, and you can see that like this would show possible 6 inches for almost all of Tennessee, parts of northern Bama, Mississippi, Georgia, and then there's that chance for the nor'easter, which it does pick up on this model. Just probabilities are much less, given that there's way more uncertainties with these models here. So yeah, that's really all I have for today. You know, there will be more. I will probably post another video tomorrow and the day after, giving even more updates on the storm once we start to figure out the logistics of it, like the intensity, you know, the exact track, stuff like that. So without further ado, if you want to like and subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when I upload, get the latest information, all that. Otherwise, if you're just watching just to watch it, cool. Otherwise, I will see everybody in the next forecast. Goodbye.